guys, hope everyone's doing good, and I'm so glad to be giving us our next topic, which is Sean Nós dancing, nurturing improvisation. Because obviously, normally for Irish dancing, improvisation is such like a bad word and a scary word because it basically normally it means you messed up, so you need to improvise your way out of it, right? But for me, it's kind of really been one of the best things I've learned through Irish dancing, and it really helped push me forward. Well, maybe I should give some context. When I given that we didn't have a lot of Irish people here when Irish dancing and music were starting, it was really reliant on our own resources, and obviously it started from the more popular forms. So our first dancing groups, of course, were great fans of river dance, Lord of the Dance, and taking a lot of their ideas for choreography from those. And likewise, when we started going, having some regular Irish nights and going to the pub, a lot of the musicians that we would meet, they would be doing like either some pop rock versions of Irish music or maybe something that's a little bit more on the punk side of things, like influenced by, I don't know, Dropkick Murphys or Flogging Molly, something like that. So some years later, though, we got a couple of Irish guys who were in Belgrade for a couple of years, Patrick and Marcus, and they really helped shape the scene further and get us into the more traditional direction, especially for the musicians. They've really shown them kind of the way of the session, if you want to say that. But they've really inspired our musicians to play in a more traditional way and to sort of orient themselves more towards playing tunes rather than playing songs. And on the other hand, for me as a dancer, well, my teachers would say I was never really good at sticking with rules, and actually that's kind of shown up in some other areas of my life as well. But long story less long, when this whole scene started developing, I really became very curious and interested in it, and how can I as a dancer join into that? Because what we knew from step dancing, well, okay, so if you're playing a reel, I know some reel steps, but they don't necessarily need to match the tune, and with the style of step dancing, you get tired more quickly, it's not as efficient, and at sometimes it might even be overwhelming and maybe too loud and doing too much in comparison to what the tune is giving you. Of course, depending on the number of musicians, the way it's played, etc. But that way, kind of, I started really digging into Sean Nós and starting to figure out how to work this. And the idea of improvising steps was very inspiring to me, and fortunately I've had some contemporary theater experience where we would use improvisation as a tool to define our characters and movements and things like that. So I kind of channeled that into dancing a little bit as well, and of course got some DVDs and started going into what makes Sean Nós the style that it is. And that it took a while, of course, for me to really get flowing with it and to get it into kind of a stable form. And at the end of the day, we really started including some Sean Nós numbers in our dancing concerts as well. And I've made this small group where I started kind of, well, you would say teaching, I guess. I always felt more comfortable with the word of sharing because I felt I really wasn't the expert myself. So to me, it was kind of like, having a laboratory where we can exchange ideas, exchange steps, and, try to figure things out. And, obviously, I had a bit, since I started it, well, since I was the first person to start that seriously here, then, I had a bit more experience, but, I was trying to have everyone included and try to figure out ideas from different ways. So over that became a very interesting experiment as well. And my favorite part of it was always, kind of the section where we would just play some music and everyone starts dancing for himself. And then, I was always telling them, do your own thing, but look at people around you. And if you see some interest, they're doing something that you like or something that's interesting, steal that. Because obviously, with your own style, with your own ideas, you won't really do it the same way, and you will probably take it into some other direction. So getting inspired by others is, for me, that's absolutely fine. So I'm thinking there's quite a bit of points to discuss here. Probably, first of all, if you're improvising and practicing improvisation, how do you approach it? What do you do to develop improvisational skills? Because obviously this is not something that's really defined in Sean Nós. And as we discussed, I think in the previous session, a lot of Sean Nós dancers today really focus on learning steps as well, which is kind of different from a direction where it's more improvisational. And developing improvisation from the steps may be a different process, but further than that, if you are in Sean Nós and if that's what you're doing, why do you enjoy it? What keeps you motivated, interested, and how do you keep developing things and coming up with new stuff? And then finally, if you've ever practiced improvisation, how has it affected your dancing? Maybe you didn't like it, maybe you didn't stick around with it, but probably it echoes still in some way in what you're doing with the other dancing that you're probably still doing. So, looking forward to seeing everyone again and hope to have another great talk. See you soon.